Reality Gateway 1, Part 5.
So we're working from Los Angeles,
California. I'm just going to say every other word that she says because I'm reading her mind.
I'm not a puppet.
All right, so Reality Gateway 5, we're going to be touching on energy field mastery, reality mastery, and mind mastery. So these are the last 3 parts of this gateway before we move into the next Reality Gateway 2, which we sent out the link to all the different workshops and classes for that. So, as you see, we're going to the energy field mastery.
Yes, so I'll just read this part of the content. This is a complete, comprehensive, and intelligent ancient intelligence mystery school gateway, understanding the pivotal importance and correlation between life force, awakening, acceleration, energy system, and energy field. This initiates self-analysis, quantum diagnosis of essential spirituality, and ascension initiation gateways. For example, wound recalibration, unplugging from the false matrix, conventional low-density reality programs, and resetting soul signature. These themes are repeatedly honored, considered, analyzed, and activated. So when we create these reality gateways, we're exploring contemporary themes within the context of our evolution and our transformation, and the processes and the technologies that we must administer so that we can activate our life force, activate our consciousness, activate quantum realities, so that we are truly standing visibly in our truth and in our own power. So when we work with, for example, consciousness mastery, we are seeking to bring into our daily practices a real and comprehensive understanding, meticulous understanding of how our consciousness operates. And that takes great care and detailing in terms of our analysis. So it's not just putting into place a meditation process or a practice. You're becoming highly responsive and responsible for your thoughts, your feelings, how you engage with the void, the 0 point, how you begin to shape your reality, understanding the frequency of your thoughts and your feelings. Now, what came up on the Ascension panel today was this: to close down the mind. And I completely disagree with that line of action. Why? Because our thoughts are a vehicle in which we create reality. So it engages our own responsibility in terms of ourselves and how we think and how we utilize that as a high frequency processing tool. So elevating, activating our mind is also part of the ascension process, as we also elevate and activate the heart. And that is the sacred marriage, which is what good mystery schools will take you to. So that's an important part of how we move into a more intelligent arena as regards to our consciousness training, our reality training, ultimately the journey that we take and we make, and how we process the instructions of our sacred destiny, which is, of course, the dream. So how we download our sacred destiny and how we utilize high processing intellectual faculty. Yes? So mind mastery is huge, because if we can master thoughts and feelings, we're capable of processing at an extraordinary quantum rate. So our mind must be working at optimum capacity. So too our hearts, but please, the head is absolutely critical in terms of the way that we understand how influential we can be as creators in this world. So of course, our thoughts and our feelings are everything, but equally as well, I believe that bringing into play the very action of thought mastery in terms of your health, self-healing processes, generating miracles, generating quantum responses to any challenges that show up in your life. I mean, it's a sure way for you to be able to manage the timelines. Now, this is what I do within the context of consciousness mastery, mind mastery, energy mastery. You have to hit the 0 point so you gain access to the timelines, yours and anyone else's. So if there are any kind of frequency distortions, you're not able to travel the timelines. If you don't have mind mastery equally at the same time, you won't be able to process with intelligence the information. So it's important as you step into and you hit the 0 point that when you begin to travel the timelines, you're able to articulate, process what you're experiencing. And I believe that we need to utilize the mind and the heart. And I think that is what the new frontier is all about. It's about creating a new paradigm of intelligence, human intelligence, based in an awakening of consciousness that is rooted in mastery. And that's what we're not seeing in our current world. We're not seeing this show up enough. It's not about how many 3D processors you experience. It's not about that. It's not about how many techniques or how many mentors or how many workshops you go to. It's about how the processor initiates and activates the necessary balancing, overhaul, resolution, recalibration. And that then allows you to engage with quantum soul. You're able to deal with conscious, unconscious, subconscious simultaneously. So that's cool shit. The void has to be accessed and triggered and activated. And so mystery school work is all about going back into ancient intelligence. The work at sites is hugely important. This regeneration of ancient intelligence as defined by the sacred feminine, the sacred masculine, is so key, because the void allows you to go deep. It allows you to acknowledge all the timelines, and it allows you to sink through all dimensions, and it allows you to travel through all dimensions. So when we can apply that to ourselves, then we can speak about ascension. When we are able and capable of doing that for ourselves, then we are able and capable of understanding how we can initiate and activate that for others. So the processes can be applied to your own practice, which means once you've initiated those gateways for yourself, just in creating this, manifesting it, maintaining it, and practicing it, you'll be able to see the possibilities of living in those gateways. That will also be the critical key in the way that you initiate, activate the individuals you love around you without any necessary need to do absolutely anything. So if you have children, it's huge because your quantum activation is going to allow you, for example, to be able to see and perceive the greater potential, the bigger picture. So you come in with that background in terms of your work, and you can apply that within the context of your workplace, how you interact with individuals, how you become a better enabler and leader at the same time. Then it becomes a life skill, and it becomes a value and an essence that is infused through all dimensions of your life. In terms of that mastery, I believe that's immensely important, that you're visibly showing up as a quantum educated and initiated and maintained human being who is capable of operating at optimum. I mean, your processing skills become highly accelerated in a world that is highly pressurized. You are able to bend time. This is really important. So your productivity can become extraordinary, but so too can your responses as regards to challenges that you meet within the context of the workplace. You can apply this to what you do on a daily basis, because you would be able to utilize this awakening of your consciousness and the quantum dynamics of it, and then apply it to solving what you need to solve in the workplace. And we become better enablers, and better leaders, and better engineers, and better dreamers as a consequence of mind mastery, energy mastery, consciousness mastery. So if we lose that, we lose our ability, and I'll tell you why. The third eye and the pineal is so important in this, and because my lineage is very strongly Syrian, the Syrian lineage will take you into the 0 point. It'll take you bang into the middle of conscious and unconscious. Pineal is the gateway, of course, to subconscious as well. So you've got these gateways that are set up, but that way of working is about finding the bridges in the gateways. It's the 0 point. Now, the ancient Egyptians knew that. They knew that awakening and activating the pineal in the void, in all of the deities, the sacred feminine deities of Egypt, and then activating Kundalini as well. This triggers the elixir of life, and that takes you into ultimate health. What you always reference is in these life spans that are massively long in terms of spiritual technologies, mystery school teachings, ancient intelligence. I mean, lifespans that span centuries. So we begin to understand that what we're stepping into is a reality as a human being that give us greater choices in terms of how we utilize time, how we miraculously transform ourselves and regenerate ourselves by utilizing these processes, how we go deeper than superficial technologies. So that helps us to become deeply, deeply embodied in these new gateways of potential. And it's the mastery. I mean, oh my God. When I do sessions with people, I mean, you travel the timelines. And you've got to be able to identify, for example, the signature and the frequency. And I mean, in terms of my training, I will work with the heart, but I have to work with the mind because I want to double check what I'm feeling so that the information is absolutely bang on concise. We need to be able to evaluate frequency as well. So there's no misfiring in terms of our precision. So our analysis and evaluation is bang on. Only then, when we're accurate, can we begin to initiate the gateways. So there is no getting this wrong. And then we begin to be able to travel the timelines. The timelines are demonstrated also in frequency. So we must be able to detect the frequency so we can travel the timelines. What I will see and feel and hear and process in terms of information, I'll be quantum processing when I'm working through Akashic records. I'll be able to detect any wounds, any distortions, and I'll be able to detect even within the context of time. So frequency and time are hugely interrelated. Without mind mastery, we're unable to process those levels of information because we need to be operating at maximum capacity. Our minds, our hearts, our biology, everything. This is why the ancient Egyptians were just so, I swear, so good. This activation of the pineal. It is the seat, it's the elixir of life, and it's the bridge between worlds. And in terms of articulating that, I mean, gateways. I also believe that when we activate the pineal, we become huge, huge, huge missionaries of light. And it's that, it just falls through our entire field. And then it comes back and it's constantly reigniting. I mean, and the void helps with this too. So the void, the gravity, so you've got these constant triggers that keep this circle of creation continuously happening. It's almost as if the mastery becomes the breath that we use, so that we're constantly seeking that alignment. So your practice becomes an alignment. I was speaking about this with someone who watched me on the panel today. He said, "You're working so hard, but you look like you're doing nothing." And everyone was trying to do something, and you just sit there and you look like you're doing nothing, but you're transmitting. And I'm working so hard inwardly because I want to register the audience, and I want to register the frequency of myself and use my quantum slides. So when the frequency in a person, in an audience, in the room drops, I can charge it up, power it up again. So it's always about being able to respond. So if we don't use the mind, we create intentions that create a reality that is short-lived. And that's one of the problems in this arena, that there isn't the intelligence and the capacity to maintain the wishful thinking. That's what we need to change. Yes?
Yeah.
So it's quite serious stuff. I mean, the whole movement at the moment, I mean, we're ablaze with this as an arena issue. So, what are we going to do? We're going to start training people in ways where their consciousness becomes the center piece of completely transforming reality. And who we are on a day-to-day basis is everything that we need to look to. So our life feeds, our frequency, our emotional, our human states, our energy levels, what that tells us about what we're saying yes to or no to. It's more than feelings. It's about everything that we are. And if we do not seek to grow our intelligence at multiple levels, quantum levels, then humanity keeps on making the same mistakes, and we can't afford to anymore. So no, it isn't about taking off our heads, because that's one of the fundamental issues of wishful and short-lived spirituality. So it's time to be much more comprehensive in our fascination with the great mysteries of our existence, which is what we set this school up for, is to share our journeys and the wisdom of our journeys, which wasn't necessarily found in a book, but in our own dedication to understanding ourselves through our own life experiences, and then looking to the walls that need to be smashed so that our minds and our hearts can be awakened and activated, so we can be more creative within the context of our life and the way we journey in terms of our mission here on the planet. And when we get into that quantum activation, I mean, it would completely change and overhaul how you show up in work, you show up at, I suppose, in any event in life. Because as soon as you show up, you're saying, this is who I am. And you give individuals an opportunity to go with you. And I believe what is really important of these times is this. Not everyone is going to take your hand, as long as you respect their free will. What you must be, and I think this is really, really, really important, is despite their projection of the wound, if you are solid enough and powerful enough in your maintenance, you brush it off. And they will not indent your flame, your life force. And that's really important. And I believe it's also important to see, so some of you saw that with me today. It's important to see that your teacher can walk their talk. So, and it's important to recognize that the lessons are in life as much as they are online or in a workshop or on a tour. So that we're recognizing there are lessons and opportunities to take and gateways to initiate and activate. In fact, we're in initiations all the time. So activating our consciousness at optimum allows us to address taking the opportunity that life affords us. And in terms of any kind of manifestation agendas, when you step up and dedicate yourself to the processes, your quantum contracts, your sacred contracts show up too. And your life is mobilized. And your community is mobilized and activated and initiated. And again, that aids you in terms of not wasting time on the planet. So it's huge stuff, isn't it? I mean, wow. It's huge, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So again, 2 hours. Sorry, guys.
So we're going to talk about energy field mastery. So let's go into a little bit about energy field mastery again, and another way to also too. So a lot of times you'll hear Robert or Mark or myself will talk about how we're impacted by the energy when we come into an environment like this. So vital life force, energy field mastery, spirit, and how you protect yourself, how you build up your energy, how you master your energy.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to just touch on that a little bit. So vital life force, we all born with vital life force. That vital life force over a period of time will deplete. You have to also build that energy field up by exercise, diet, meditation, and also creating that field around that a little bit.
Okay. Let's, for example, utilize the example of, yes, how we respond to environments that are energetically challenging to navigate. Number one, you need to check in and you need to align often. And it is about this. So in those situations I would prep myself, prime myself, even before I come to an event like this. So I am aligned. I am strengthening and preparing from the inside out. So you would practice completion, alignment. And then, for example, I've just walked you through this because if you walk, you talk, and again, it's about know what walking your talk is. Walking your talk is about alignment. So you know what that feels like. But you know what I find really, really interesting is the power games that people play. And people can't play power games. And it's not the energy, it's the games that people play. And so when people play games, they have to use their mind to play games. Utilize your mind, because then you will start to detect who to align with and who not to align with. In terms of the chaos, which it is, chaotic energy is about distortion. So we live in a world of distortions because, of course, we're living with false matrix. We have the transition that's happening, the awakening that's happening, the ascension that's happening. I mean, get into our bodies. Now, this is why I do really simple techniques. And if you take out the head, you can't control. And you have to control. And you have to take control of yourself, or somebody else will proceed in disempowering you. So, and you have to be that brutally honest about what we are challenged by on a day-to-day basis. And it isn't then trite, superficial spirituality stuff. I mean, we have to become hugely mindful, realistic of all the different starting points that people are in on that particular day, at that particular moment in time. So we're being shown many gateways. If you are aligned, you will be able to register the quality of your own field. And I mean, even simply, head, heart, feet, and that really coming into your body. I mean, once you have that alignment, you can raise the frequency of your field. And that will give you a much more dynamic field. And again, this is important. If you're quantum initiating, quantum activating, gravity is your trigger, then your resource becomes quantum. And that 0 point is yours. And it is found at the center of your being and your core. So you're not in any kind of 4D bullshit, which is what I'm seeing so much of in our arena. So we got to bring the 0 point to our center of gravity. Now, that means that if you don't particularly like to meditate, it's perfect. Yes, because these are reality practices, which is much more useful. Yes, because you're finding your core. And I mean, when you find your core, it's like you're aligned at every dimension. You can hear my voice, it's changed. I'm in my body. And then you're able to communicate and articulate, and where necessary, super healthy boundaries. And that's really important in these times, because of course there is the issue of contamination, because the elite power structures have put the false matrix into place and put the wound programming into place in order to disrupt the ascension process. And those of us who know that freedom is the only way. So you'll meet, for example, certainly some perpetual hijacks. However, until you bring that center, that 0 point, until you sit it right at the heart of your being. And I mean, the 0 point has got to go 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I mean, you need it through your entire being. Once you have it set like that, this is why I said it's got to be about the heart and the mind. You can return and check, evaluate, assess what is the reality you are experiencing, what is toxic, what is healthy, what is neutral, etc., etc. And you can resume your alignment. And as you go into more advanced practices, I mean, this is why I made it a life practice. And so you begin to know your way around finding yourself back into your central core. Not because you're sitting in a meditation class where nobody's doing anything. I mean, what's happening? You can't master your field and your consciousness in such generic conditions. So we master our consciousness in life, we master our spirituality in life. That's where the real advanced work is. The ancient Egyptians actually knew this, because of course they were creating heaven on earth. I mean, what were they doing? Creating heaven on earth. That's exactly what they did. So, and how did they do that? They constructed realities that were based on eternally practicing on a day-to-day basis this rejuvenation, finding the core of the 0 point, which is even the beginning of time itself. I mean, it's just amazing stuff. And when we can find time itself, the beginning of time itself, in ourselves, I mean, the resource, I mean, guys, I mean, when we lose our center and we're not quantum activated, what do? We lose our connection with the immersion in the sacred. If you stay more aligned, then the sacred is infusing you constantly. It maintains a strong field. So, low impact. And I want to speak a little about this. When we are immersed in the sacred and we don't externalize creator, tricky and political area to explore and indent. However, when we're completely immersed in the sacred, and I mean, you have to change your frequency to do that. But with your practice, you'll do it. You'll gain greater mastery. And it's that being able to align and then being able to hold that center of 0 point in your body. And you're tapping into a resource. And sacred is so much more powerful than negative agenda and games. is, which is why I can sit and assess the frequency and the quality of the thoughts and feelings around me as I channel, as I work on panel. So it allows you to quantum task and assimilate on so many different levels. That's what I do when I do sessions for people as well. I'm assimilating, processing on so many different levels. But immersing ourselves in the sacred and triggering sacred resource, which is the 0 point, that allows us to stand stronger than the false matrix agenda. So there are no buts. Somebody gave me a but last night and I took them out. You know, I'm like, as soon as someone says but, it's like, forget it. I mean, I'm just bored. I'm bored before they even start. Yeah? Because excuses, we don't need excuses when we are immersed and activated and initiated in the sacred. Now, immerse and activate, initiate yourself in the sacred, and then you begin to use these, you begin to use the intelligence of your mind and your heart. Holy shit, you're entering into these zones of creative genius. I mean, genius. And in terms of you guys having a child who needs to be honored in a different way, I mean, it's extraordinary. So a spiritual practice becomes a necessary requirement in what is required for the next phase of evolution. So if the kids have it, then the parents have to step up. So where we have these triggers within the context of evolution, I mean, we're being asked to raise the bar in terms of human intelligence. Yes? Emotional intelligence. So that is what I describe as mastery and energy mastery. And everything we experience can become a great pointer in terms of whether we are maintaining our sacred core or not, whether we're maintaining our sacred integrity or not. And that change of frequency, you know, when we are in a place such as this, so when we're facing challenges in terms of the environment energetically, it'll take you back to the same lesson, your core. Go back to the core. Know what your core is. Know what it is. And I mean, I think this is really interesting, actually. It's like, in order to defy reality, and this is what I wanted to speak about a little bit more in terms of the Ascension panel earlier. The principle of Maat was demonstrated to me when I opened the Stargate at Habu Temple. I mean, the feather being spat out of the portal. I mean, this was all physical. So feathers being spat out of this gateway, and it's happening in front of me, and I'm seeing these feathers being dropped and then being picked up and being put back into the portal. Quantum realities, demonstrating a law. And that law is the principle of Maat, the principle of truth. So the ancient Egyptians in life and in death believed this, that the heart counterbalancing with the feather, high frequency, good heart, not naughty heart. So, zero. And it's the initiation that takes you into standing in the gateway of eternity, so you can like go beyond we go beyond. And Mystery School teachings are all about being able to go beyond our current reality. So, despite what we experience in terms of a disruption in terms of our field, it's a lesson, if we embrace it, to reset our own center of power, sacred power. And if we just take a moment of time, then we can reset ourselves. That's why we need to engage with the mind and the heart, because the activation of your greater intelligence will allow you to respond faster, so that you can take care of your field faster. You know, within the context of the work that I do, I mean, I do a massive amount of work. I've always done a massive amount of work where people have always said, you can't do that many sessions a day. You can't do that many schools. You can't travel here. You can't do this. And I've always worked with bending time. I've always worked with generating a lot of self-practice and working from this sacred power within me, this 0 point, and constantly triggering it, so that when there are challenges, I can find that center and then reset myself. And then we build, and we build, and we build, and we build. So this is what the ancient Egyptians did on a daily practice level. They were consistently finding their way back to their sacred power, which is also the beginning of time, pre-programming. And when we activate and we set ourselves to that origin, then of course we are slicing through the programming that can also become challenging to break through, because if we haven't recalibrated our programming, then we also can come into resonating with the wound in others. So obviously there'll be initiation processes that you go through within the context, and it's always about building this sacred power. I think the best advice I can give you all is to not engage in the games. To not engage in the games of the false matrix, but to engage in the games of the sacred matrix. You know, it's the joy, it's the intelligence, it's the beginning of time, it's your sacred intelligence, it's multiple dimensions, it's multiple lives, it's the intelligence of all your incarnations rather than the intelligence of the false matrix. So, you know, and this is what we're experiencing in this sea of distortion currently. But the only thing that resets it, and I think this is extraordinary, the ancients left behind legacy of ancient monuments as well. And when we do step into the stargates, we step into the earth grid, I mean, seriously work with the sites, ancient sites, energy pathways, etc., etc. They offer us very natural technologies, sacred earth technologies that reset us back to alignment. So again, I was talking about it today, the technologies of all the timelines. So they recalibrate you without you doing very much. Yeah. So sacred earth, being immersed in sacred resources. I mean, oh my goodness. I think that's why we got together. It's like the stargates are the most important. It's the only way we're going to save the planet. But it resets you. So you remember that seat of sacred power. And that's what the Great Pyramids were, of course, designed for. It's this alignment, this taking us to a particular place of perfection. Pharaoh of ancient Egypt was Ak, light, quantum. It's all in the linguistics rather than in the full research. Yeah. The Aku is the cosmic template of man, light. Sphinx is placed in the east, the path of the east, the path of light, the Shen Shu Huo. So if we constantly seek the journey that is light, then that aids us in developing this sacred core. And it aids us in choosing right path over wrong path. Yes, it's advanced work, but we get caught up in the work being maybe more 3D complicated than it should be. Yes? Perfect. You could have interrupted, it's fine.
Right. Okay, we're going to touch a little bit on reality mastery now.
We are?
Yeah, so
He's such a great prompt.
I got to keep the time.
Could I want to be an actress.
All right. Going real quick back to what Robert and Mark were asking about earlier. Vital life force, replenishing it through sometimes the meditation. Through
the triggers.
Right. Energy.
Gravity
is
really important. That's why power sites are important. Like even jumping up and down a bit, getting into your body, dancing. Yeah. Yeah. Walking, running.
And visualization of your energy too.
It resets your field. It gives you that core, your sacred core. And it's about igniting your life force from the inside out. And however you do that, you trigger it. Yeah, you dedicate to it. And I think that's why you raising your frequency, but raising your frequency is in any activity. Yes? So we find ourselves building all of these trigger points, resources.
Qigong too.
Yeah.
Wow, that's well.
Yeah. Oh, and contact.
That's what I was getting to.
If in doubt, call them in. Exterminate. No, I'm just joking.
All right, so we're going to hit you with reality mastery.
But seriously, no, I want to go back to that.
Okay, we're going back.
Bring in contact. You know why? Because it will build a stronger and stronger field and people will stop messing with you. Yeah? And that has to happen. So this is not about saying I work with this particular angel and not infusing yourself with a learning process that also awakens and activates wisdom within. This is not about an external false god. This is about infusing your entire temple and recognizing that. And if you're not entering an alchemy process where you are indeed improving yourself, you must look at the processes you are attaching yourself to.
Actually, we sent a student to you earlier, and she was from Indiana, and that was one of the questions. In the Bible, it says, Jesus said, greater things ye shall do. So reclaiming your spiritual sovereignty, not having to go through any deities, gods, or any one of those things, you yourself have that power within. So by retaining your spiritual sovereignty, you're building up that belief in yourself, in your own power, and you're also invoking that too. So going back to what we talked about last week, building it up. Greater things ye shall do.
So it's like that pledge to yourself.
Self, yes.
I am sacred. I am sacred. And as you move into that journey, you become more and more complete. So there's not so much to do. And if you have individuals around you who are needing to prove themselves, let them do it. But don't be influenced to take that journey. So, listen to this. This is why you do need to engage with thought, because your thoughts will hold you, fix you into reality gateways. So it'll take you into, for example, person's energy. If it's distorted, if you acknowledge it, then you can move yourself away from it. So practicing attachment, non-attachment. That's very important. It's important to disclose. See, we use that word in this movement, but it's also important to acknowledge that the energy isn't particularly concordant or conducive, whatever it is. Just acknowledge it. And if it's great, it's great. If it's so-so, it's so-so. If it's not great, it's fine as well. It's like, okay, just acknowledge it. And in the acknowledgement, the awareness is transformational because you have practiced attachment and non-attachment. It is this, it is this, it is this. Done. It's when we don't use our awareness, that's when we give energy away to situations, people that don't need it. And again, my contact experiences trained me in this. So we expand our mind, we expand our hearts because contact experiences, sacred experiences, creating the necessary infusion, immersion, and alchemical processes required for us to ignite our sacred power once again. And you're absolutely right. I mean, Akhenaten, these sites go live when you step into these sites. You know that. You've been with me. Yes?
Yes.
And the technologies are amazing, but the technologies respond to your sacred power and respond to your state of consciousness. Beware of who you go with to sacred sites.
Right. We're going to move on right now to reality mastery. So I'm going to read you what my...
Sometimes I feel like a kid.
So reality mastery, next, because we only have 45 minutes left and have 3 more topics to do. Profound correlation between AIMS consciousness training and how you create reality. Here we discover how to dedicate to track consciousness, intelligence, frequency, and density beyond convention. During evolution and pivotal time phase alignments, our dedication to our soul's nature, sacred mission, and sacred contracts in this reality game changer. Here we consider uniqueness of unformidable as we potentially propelled into unknown awakening and non-conventional. During AIMS Reality Gateway 1 Part 5, we're going to experience consciousness and reality teachings exclusive to our missions, acceleration, consciousness on the earth. It is important to visit Part 5 repeatedly for quantum initiations unique to AIMS beyond one-time participant teacher online training. Before we get into this, let's just touch base real quick, because it's going to be a long one, on what's coming up on Reality Gateway Part 2. And in Part 1, we're going to do the initiation into Reality Gateway Part 2. We're going to do 0 point, Earth Grids, Sacred Resonance, and Reality Gateway 2. Part 2, we will do Geographical Attunements, Frequency, Contact. Reality Gateway 2, Part 3, we'll do Power Sites, Sacred Sites, Stargates. Reality Gateway Part 2, Part 4, we'll do Ley Lines, Earth Chakras, and utilizing crystal technologies. And then Part 5, Polarity, Vibration, and Energy, which ties back into this Reality Gateway right here. So we're going to move into reality mastery. Over to you.
Okay. Today I met a young man in the corridor, and he came up to thank me. He met me last year, and he recorded my workshop from last year, and he just simply listened to it over 1 year. He didn't become my student. He just listened to it, and he said,
I did that too.
yeah,
For
and then
6
he
months.
married me.
Then I married her. That's how great it was.
But what he said was he regularly listens to the teachings, which has changed his life. And he came up and he said, I just want to thank you because I love that workshop and I listened to it. And it's not the workshop, it's the quantum, the metaphysical teachings that keep on changing you time and time again that you listen to it. So part of your practice is about not just 3D listening. And I was advising my daughter about this. She's 19, to go to sleep and listen to it. Like, even if you're completely wasted after a really exhausting day, you just sleep on it. And that will help you to reconfigure, reset your field. I just want it to be effortless. You know, of course you have to practice, but some of it we can make easier.
A lot of the teachings too that I found out later on, it's encrypted and encoded. So you might be listening to 3 or 4 words in one paragraph, but it correlates to another paragraph. And sometimes you can read backwards and it all comes out saying the same message. So there is an encryption built into it to have the safety net. And if you're really paying attention, because a lot of people say to me, oh, well, she utilizes the word sacred a lot or this a lot. I say, well, every time you're hearing those words, it's an affirmation. It's also reinforcing the teachings over and over and over. So regardless of if it sounds repetitive here and there, it's part of the teachings because it's like an affirmation that you're hearing over and over that over a period of time becomes your reality and becomes your own working words that you work with yourself.
Frequency signatures.
Yes.
And they keep,
The mantra.
keeps on bringing you back into your body. So you become complete repeatedly again and again and again and again. And that build, I mean, is really important. Yeah.
And with the reality mastery we're talking about right now is, you're mastering your reality, whatever that reality you want it to be. So once you are, if we went back to what we talked about 2 programs back about visualization and knowing and feeling exactly what it is you want your life to be like. And, we can't teach you that. You know that from within. We can't tell you what your life is going to be like. We're not going to tell you what your dreams and goals and aspirations are. Only you know that. But the tools that you're learning are tools that's going to reinforce those dreams and those visions of what you want for your life. Bringing heaven on earth, being the leader, the teacher, the student, the husband, the wife, whatever those things, being a better parent. That's your reality. So mastering your reality, that's not something that we can teach how to master. You're going to master that on your own through a period of time and through experience and through some of the lessons. But be careful what masters you choose to help you master your reality. Because their reality.
That's really good.
So, ready?
I love it.
That?
No, I love that.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
So we're going to move on. Next one up is, and I want to go back real quick. On all the reality gateways, we had a picture that was placed purposely on the top of each reality gateway. And we're going to let you guys know that those are all crop circles. So those crop circles have a certain vibration and energy to it. And if you look at those crop circles and you meditate with those images, you'll start to see all the channels in your mind open up and information that'll come in. Because I stare at these a lot and I meditate with them too. So if we didn't say anything to you guys because we wanted to see how it was affecting you over a period of the 5 gateways, but those are vector files of crop circles that'll help you to unlock things in your mind. Okay, so last, we have half hour, mind mastery. All right, so I'm going to read, this is stuff that was channeled earlier. And just so you guys understand, sometimes that happens with the way we teach is with Tracy's channeling a lot of this stuff in the beginning, but depending on who is in the audience or where we are, the teachings will change. And the teachings are changing based upon the location. It's based upon who is in the audience. And it's also based upon what energies are coming in as we're in those locations. So that's why sometimes the videos and the reality gateways and sacred texts are not going to always be precise because we are changing it as spirit calls it in or as the location calls it in. So I'll actually channel back a little bit, but I'm going to read it to you. This is an immense subject that will be covered in AIM's advanced gateway trainings later on. For this introduction, you will be introduced to the intelligence of recalibration, resolution, healing, and awakening for mind mastery. This is a vast gateway that can only be briefly explored. Your own dedicated practice and dedicated journey with AIMS initiates you further. And to touch on that real quick, when you're taking these reality gateways in the beginning, there's only so much time we have to actually touch on a lot of these subjects. We're going to dive into these subjects deeper and deeper as we go along. So the way we're structuring the classes are, we're giving you the foundation for the work now, and then as we go on further, we'll go into it a lot deeper and give a lot deeper understanding and meaning behind some of the things that we're touching based on. But this is also because in the beginning, you have to figure out how this information is being is affecting you and changing your life, and so that's what we're going to go into this right now. So here requires genuine humility, as you are requested not to
presuppose.
Tongue-tied. Here, you channel it. I can't read it. It's been a long day.
Okay. Here requires genuine humility, as you are requested not to presuppose advanced initiation until multiple gateways of consciousness and reality and transformation and evolution are mastered. That's really important, because I think even teachers in this arena, they presuppose so much, and we must be careful of projecting illusion. So this is a revolution in terms of recalibrating beyond conventional intelligence density. We cannot initiate sacred or metaphysical in low density intelligence, consciousness, or reality. That does not honor sacred destiny, sacred earth, and sacred humanity. The false matrix does not serve mind mastery. Your attachment to the false matrix is crucial. This is advanced quantum consciousness and reality training. You are required to reconsider or consider aims training beyond the false matrix. You cannot initiate in sacred, in conventional consciousness or in conventional intelligence. This includes conventional learning gateways. And I think that's something we need to consider as well. We expect to learn about quantum and sacred from a conventional learning perspective. It doesn't fit. There's no fit there. I mean, follow the instructions, 3D. No, for quantum, doesn't work. Yes?
Right.
So there's entry points within the context of our consciousness. This is what so many people are getting so wrong in our arena. I mean, it's ablaze with false flags.
Data overload.
Yeah, data overload, superficial techniques, technologies. I mean, that just don't go deep enough. So it's something where negotiating and navigating. So, mastery of the mind pertains to void. Void equals black star. Star equals completion of sacred destiny. This is advanced and exceptional rather than ordinary and conventional. Note, there is no attachment other than to sacred destiny. Nothing to prove or gain, need. The contribution of your unleashed sacred heart and life force resource is awakened in new timelines, emotional intelligence, mind mastery, and resulting in reality mastery. This mastery is found in surrendering to your sacred destiny. We overhaul our elitist attachment to childish demands and false matrix attachments that create conflict with our sacred destiny. The contract and sovereignty of this current incarnation and gateway of evolution is secured. This is extremely advanced in our work. That's channeled. Okay, so if you read this again and again, I mean just reading it, I mean mastery of the mind pertains to void. Void equals black star. Black star equals completion of sacred destiny. I mean, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Crazy stuff. So the channelings, the teachings that I receive are deliberately simplified so that we can download the information. I mean, I went to the UFO panel. Did you go to the UFO panel this morning? It was bloody amazing. But someone said, we're not built for telepathic downloads. David Adair looked at me and I was going, no, so fucking wrong. Because of course, we are built for telepathic downloads because the transferring transdimensionally, interdimensionally is the way that we have evolutionary, revolutionary reboots. And that's the way that transdimensional intelligence, that's the way the assistance comes in to aid humanity. So this is where we need to do the work on increasing our intelligence so we can have full communication. We need the communication because the education is sacred. Then we upscale in terms of our evolution, our intelligence at every dimension. You know, contact is so important. I mean, it's so key. Yes?
Yes.
So that's where we are. So what I'd like to do with this part of it, if that's okay,
Yeah, let's do it.
is this. To, at the core of your sacred power, is your sacred destiny. And every time we go back to our sacred power, we're remembering our sacred destiny. We're remembering the beginning of time. So, what our sacred contracts are and were at the beginning of all time. So, that is the easiest way. So when we place emphasis and place our focus, our attention, intention in the stuff that isn't worth it, come back to that consideration. Come back to that reality gateway. Yeah? So even now, and that's why I do enormous amounts of work when we're on our last legs and we've been at a conference for like 3 days and it's like we've been up for like 13, 14 hours doing workshops and processing and listening to people. That's exactly when we can raise our frequency and and ignite from that sacred power center, which it is. It's your sun. Yeah, you know, they were talking about solar flares and the sun. It's like, ignite your sun. That's what the ancient Egyptians did. The Shamshu Hor. The path of light, path of the sun, the solar path. Then we resurrect our cosmic template. Yeah. So let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
We're going to do that.
We are doing it now. Yeah. So nice to be working with you all, some of you in person. Head, heart, feet. Connecting into the earth grid, the land here in the United States. When we activate and you stand in sacred space, you can reset your sacred power. Just hold. And if you want to, place your hand on your belly. And as you breathe, you're returning to your sacred power. I'm going to hold you in sacred space or in the stargate. Press your feet into the floor. Allow your frequency to change. And it's here we break through the veil, break through the limits, and we ignite vast, infinite resource, light itself. Head, heart, feet. This is contact. To know that we are being sacred aided in this time of ascension. Head, heart, feet, constantly push down through the feet. Your sacred destiny, sacred mission here on the planet. Feel the signature of it, the energy of it, even if you do not know it. frequency. First, give birth to the frequency. Your sacred destiny. Infuse your whole being in light, in light, in light. Head, heart, and feet. You feel density being overhauled, recalibrated. Light of your sacred power infuses the physical, the heart, and the mind. I pledge to remember my sacred destiny. Feel yourself being lifted. Find your sacred power, then you choose to listen to Creator and the instructions that show you the way always to evolution, always to light, always of light. You find the way to light again. Head, heart, feet. Take a breath and open your eyes. So you should be in a healing process as well. That really shifted so much in your field. Just went boom. So we can then, just in holding sacred space, we can transform so much within ourselves. And there's no, I'm a healer. We're just simply learning how to find the center of our sacred power so that we can hold sacred space. When we do that, we're enablers on a day-to-day basis. And that's when extraordinary things can happen and manifest in our day-to-day lives. Yeah? Just like it really is about sacred honoring ourselves. And then when we're aligned, we can listen to ourselves, respond, make the adjustments, the recalibrations. We can listen to ourselves, therefore listen to others as well. It's very interesting. It will change the dynamics and the flow of you with others. That's really important. I believe in our arena, people aren't being trained to listen to themselves. And I think the common observation is this, that you're getting tired because you're being talked at. There isn't really any real engagement. I've seen a lot of teachers over the weekend look really, really, really disconnected from their sacred power, because there's a lot of need at the moment. So we need to be trained to centers and take greater responsibility for ourselves and how we replenish and how we stop attaching ourselves to so much bloody drama. Yeah, drama is one of the key hijackers. It's very disruptive. Yeah, so we need to really disengage with that. Yeah, because again, it wastes our time, and on a bigger global level, it dispenses of our awareness and our intelligence, because of course it allows great crimes to be committed against humanity. So in our arena, if we're interested, for example, in the disclosure movement or earth healing or peace, then the first thing that we gotta let go of is drama. Yeah? Yeah, it's so key. Politics, personal agendas, toxic agendas. So can't talk about these things and yet hold on to the very things that disconnect us from creating a better world. Yes? So this is very important in terms of our mastery, consciousness, energy, and our mind mastery.
And reality mastery.
And reality mastery. Yeah. That was a really interesting healing process.
I feel how differently everything feels now.
Yeah.
And also the frequency in your left ear.
I got it.
Left ears? Left ears.
Yeah, we're going to do more experimental work on frequency, aren't we?
Yeah.
And how we can aid individuals to initiate, activate, transform. So we're going to create some work where we're playing with frequency,
And in the last
playing
Reality
with channeling.
and that's what we did in the last Reality Gateway. If you notice that in one of the channelings, we had music on the tone of that part of the video. And that's specifically to kind of match the individual frequencies with where Tracy's frequency is, where she's channeling. So we're just trying all different things and make it different from what everyone else is doing and unconventional as possible.
And just thinking about timelines, I already have witnessed this event, this gathering. So when we are truly listening to our sacred calling, we're showing in life that we've already contracted and we already know the way because we've already planned it. We've already agreed to it. And that is sacred work. Yes? And what we have to do is remove ourselves from the drama so that we can find our way to that sacred journey that is far more advanced, far more sacred, and far less attached to drama and small-mindedness. So we're stepping into this greater intelligence that's much more aligned with humanity and Earth and the cosmos itself. And that's when we will not only have contact, but we'll have contact as a reality on Earth. I mean, it'll be a reality for the masses. We have to change our consciousness so that we can smash the veil. And it's density that disconnects us from the universe, from other human beings, because we haven't done enough work on ourselves. So, for example, when you need healing, minimize your own drama and then check into yourself and see if you can align. I always stay away from excessive amounts of healing work with people because I like to train people to self-heal. So you find your point of alignment without drama. I always heal the people who need it most and they never ask for it anyway. So, and then see if that will make you okay. And we've experimented with these processes through many life challenges, through death situations, through really challenging crises, family crises. And it is the only way to secure your way through is your sacred power. Find that alignment where you minimize the drama and that completion, that 0 point, that sacred power sees you through the stuff that you are led to believe will destroy you. Yeah? Agree? You know, all of these fears come up when we are in the throes of day-to-day life. All our triggers. So the more we build our sacred space, the more we master the triggers. Yeah. That's really key. Yeah. And you all know what your triggers are. It's just, but awareness is not enough. That's why you need metaphysics, and I go back to it constantly. It's the quantum education, it's the quantum training that's required so you can reboot your sacred resource. Yeah. Just finishing up my next book. It's called Wound Weaver, and it's all about that subject. Yeah. How we weave multiple dimensions, multiple versions of ourselves. And the weave is, of course, our sacred power. It's the 0 point goal. The alchemy of our stories, our history, and the wisdom of those life lessons. And that always gives us the completion, which is our sacred power. Yeah. good?
All good.
We're complete.
We're complete. So, till next time, which will be April.
April.
What are we gonna do in April?
Shasta.
Mount Shasta. Root chakra time.
Boom.
Time to
Contact. So the more grounded you get, the more aligned you get, the better the contact. I mean, I'm planning on like full blown, let's walk amongst us stuff. Yeah. So.
Welcome to Reality Gateway 1, and it's our final session. It's part 5. We're filming from Lake Shrine, which has been at the heart of the spiritual and human potential revolution since the 1950s, 60s. So it's a huge influencer in terms of the world matrix. I'm super excited to be channeling transmissions from this particular site. This is also the site which in 2015 I photographed this incredible 5th dimensional being, star being, right at the center of the lake. So this site, this gateway, is so synonymous with raising the frequency of the planet. For this particular teaching, we're going to be looking at mind mastery. So I'm going to step inside to start the channelings, utilizing the center, this lake, as the basis. So mind mastery takes us into a journey of mastering body, our emotional intelligence, and equally mastering the density of the thoughts that we create in response to our own history, in response to external events and situations. When we step into an alignment with Creator, we are stepping into an education which allows us that mastery of the frequency of our thoughts, the frequency of our feelings. In our practices, we are indeed clearing the filter in which we perceive ourselves and perceive the reality we exist in. Mind mastery plays a critical role in the way we perceive ourselves, improve ourselves and evolve ourselves, and choose to transform ourselves. Taking this further, the way we indeed choose to manifest ourselves and indeed transmit the frequency of our consciousness and indeed impact the frequency of our planet. Mind mastery takes on a critical role in multiple arenas of our spiritual practice and indeed our existence. First, transmission. So as we step into high frequency sacred space, the space we choose to create when we meditate, the space we choose to inhabit in the locations we choose, indoors or outdoors, when we meditate, when we dedicate to our practices, into the body, the first phase of mind mastery, into concrete alignment. This aids you in mastering the noise of the mind, the chaos of thoughts. It allows you to step into the clarity so you can see who you are and see the way to a more evolved and peaceful version of yourself, versions of yourself. Mind mastery allows you that choice, importantly. Head. Heart. Feet. You are choosing at this time the best possible version of yourself. Still and more complete. At a site such as this, you're working with greater support in terms of that mind mastery. Choosing the still point. Choosing higher thoughts. Choosing higher mind. And yet remaining focused, solid, genuine, and grounded. So you're not misfiring in terms of your evolution and your progress. Choosing to evolve your mind. You're choosing to immerse in Creator. Choosing to improve mind, quality of thoughts, therefore frequency. Choosing to raise your vibration. Here you are seeking the experience where Creator and your own conscious thoughts mind merges. Five deep breaths. Head and heart and feet. So there's coming into the body, and there's a vast and infinite experience of flying, being in an infinite and vast education with Creator. That marriage, that fusion, union that takes place with genuine sacred work. This is where a revolutionary education begins. So we move out of the density of generic spiritual practices and into real understanding of how mastering our thoughts massively influences the way we create our reality and ultimately influences the world we exist in. Therefore, the quality of our service and presence in the world that we exist in, and even the quality of time we spend upon the planet. It is super extraordinary stuff. So instead of working with generic and mechanical meditation techniques, consciousness training techniques, we work into the precision stillness of our thoughts noise, and we slice into the still points of our mind. That takes us into a vast and potentially infinite alignment with the intelligence of Creator, the thoughts of Creator, the intelligence of universe. And in the mastery of the mind comes a monumental and unprecedented journeys of consciousness into consciousness. We step outside of generic, superficial, and the density of the filter, which limits our capacity to understand the greater questions on our existence. Mind mastery allows us to begin to tackle those bigger questions on our existence, allows us to tackle more complete spiritual practices that allow us to redefine ourselves, to redefine our evolution, redefine our contribution. In the stillness of mind mastery, we can come to know ourselves. And in knowing ourselves, we can begin to acknowledge there is a greater voice, a stiller voice, a greater intelligence within us, which allows us to know and seek a greater way of existing on the planet. So it's here we step into a greater intelligence, greater understanding, a more humble understanding of who we are. And in that moment of acceptance, we can be touched by Creator. We can connect with greater versions of ourselves. The stillness mastery brings in your capacity to choose your own freedom. And this is hugely revolutionary as you begin to register programs and history and the density, the frequency of your repeat phases and cycles and contracts. And mind mastery allows you to begin to free yourself from these repeat phases and cycles that continue to limit your capacity to extend your understanding of who you are and what your spiritual practice can be, what your spiritual practice can indeed mean, not only to yourself but to others, as they begin to not only know but feel there is genuine change taking place beyond a mechanical practice that never reflects the sacred spark within us. So here we trigger the sacred spark, and that is tangible and that is visible. Mastering the mind allows us to transmit that sacred spark, connecting us with the sacred in all that exists on the planet. So this is a huge subject, vast. I mean, how can we tackle it in just 2 hours? Igniting the sacred spark within means we must, every time we practice, we must be unique and humble and responsive and responsible to who we are and the density of our thoughts and our feelings as we step into practices, as we step into reality, knowing what is sacred and what is not, and knowing that each thought transmits frequencies. So again, mastering mind allows us to ignite and recharge the sacred spark, the sacred flame within ourselves. If we can allow that to build, and the frequency and the quality of our presence in our day-to-day lives can be extraordinary in ordinary situations. And in our day-to-day lives, our mind mastery practices again allow us to take care of the situations, the exchanges that we experience on a day-to-day basis, allows us to master our presence in terms of our reality, and allows us to, of course, choose with greater care and responsibility, spiritual dedication, our time spent on the planet, and our own personal journey with our unique contracts of destiny. So it's a huge subject. We can't even begin to make tiny footsteps into it. I mean, it's at the heart of metaphysics, metaphysics training, your ability to channel, intuit, perceive genuinely, exactly, with great detail and precision, so that you can identify the source of your inspiration, truth. So hugely important as we move into a monumental quest to revolutionize our spiritual arena once again. So again, going back to this, we're here at Lake Shrine. This is at the epicenter of the first spiritual revolution, and we need to look back to those roots where spiritual practices were indeed dedicated journeys of self-discovery and self-inquiry, which requested that we definitively mastered the mind and the emotions, so that we could listen to a greater intelligence, the calling of Creator, the calling of our sacred destiny.